What's something your employer did that instantly killed employee morale? Banned smartphones in the break room to force us to talk to one another and build camaraderie. Ends up we didn't like each other that much. How is that allowed? It's your break, they can't force you to do anything on your break, can they? Legally no, but they can make it a cell phone free area. One of our senior employees asked for a raise because it had been a few years since he had had one, and he was doing a great job. Management reviewed his file, realized they could pay one of the new guys half of the salary of experienced guy, fired senior guy, promoted junior dude. They weren't aware of the warehouse dynamic, and soon found out that no one liked or wanted to work for or with junior guy. Morale dropped a lot. A week later, senior guy committed suicide. Once the warehouse was informed/invited to the funeral, morale really dropped, and eventually junior guy became so ineffective trying to run the shop that he was fired, and the next senior guy just kind of took over without management doing anything about it. Everything began to run as it had before senior guy was fired. Holy shit. In a company of 6 people, owner said in a meeting with everyone that his 2 sales guys are irreplaceable and that the rest of us are just paper pushers. He now runs a company of 3 people. No raises or bonuses this year due to company performance, but I will make it up to you by taking the whole company to the lake for a trip on my new 30-foot boat. Casually said the best employee was X, and everyone, including X, knew that X was among those who did the least amount of work. At least X is self-aware, I guess. Yeah, he was laughing slightly as all our eyes widened in shock. Fired the girl who was in her 3rd trimester of pregnancy 3 days before her maternity leave was to start. I don't think that's even legal. It's not. AutoZone did this to a woman a few years ago, and she sued and settled for like 18 million if memory serves. It was part of the reason they didn't give us a raise that year because of unforeseen labor costs according to the memo. Labor costs. I see what you did there. In a very short span of time, they changed everyone's 401k plan for worse, and then implemented an office-wide cleanliness policy. No eating at your desk. Only 3 personal items on your desk. Everything labeled. No items other than your keyboard, mouse, and monitors on your desk at the end of the day. Talk about pissed off. You could feel the gloom when you walked in. Everyone's give a shit a broke ad once. Might have cleaned out the employees as well. To cut costs, they started a policy that only certain departments had internet access. It basically started a class system that bred resentment across departments and caused an exodus from the non-internet teams. The internet. I have heard tales told of this precious and rare commodity, but if you ask me, they are just legends made up to pass the time and fill the children with awe and wonder. I hear tell they got some out California way. Removed COLA raises each year for all employees, and implemented a raise when promoted, or take on more responsibility model. However, promotions are very rare and raises are never approved. So everyone is losing money to inflation each year, and they tried to sell it as a big win for the employees. We aren't stupid people. And companies wonder why employees leave after 3 years. No one knows. It's a mystery. / / I think it would be funny to hand in your 2-week notice alongside with resume and cover letter for exactly the same position, with perks written in. 3-year experience in this exact position. Only request readjusted salary on the interview. Oh, and if asked why you left your previous job, my employer refused to adjust salary for inflation. My boss is looking to retire in the next 3 to 4 years. He told everyone that he wanted us to come up our visions for the company and its future over the next 5, 10, 20 years. We are a small office of about a half dozen people, but we've been growing, and so everyone brought up growth projections and succession planning once he retires, etc. His son is the heir apparent, and has a precocious 8-year-old, so in my 20-year version I even included the grandson joining the business, and grooming it to become a legacy company. My boss went last, and we were expecting something acknowledging some of our thoughts, or at least an expression of appreciation, that the company he founded would live on well past his retirement, be in good hands, etc. Instead it was brutal and short. It was something along the lines of, I do everything around here anyway, so I should just sell the company to fund my retirement and you can all find other companies to work for in a few years. Mood killed. Meeting ended. Everyone quits that same year and he can start his retirement early. Yeah, why? and the value of his company nosedives. Everyone wins. Large factory, not unionized. Each department clocks in at a different place, mainly that department's break room. My department clocked in across the facility from the main entrance, which meant it took about 15 minutes to walk from the front door to where you clocked in and out at, and another 5 to walk from that entrance to the parking lot. There was a side exit that we would use. However, that literally cut that walk down from 20 minutes to 3. Since our department was right next to the parking lot, management decided that all employees must enter and exit through the same door, which meant we had to walk all the way down to the main entrance and then back around to our cars. There was so much rebellion from the employees in our department that they had to bar the door shut with 2 X4s. Jokes on them. Even unionized employees can be a pain in the ass. We contacted the fire marshal, who upon seeing a fire exit barricaded, fined the company $8,000. We still were not allowed to enter through this door, but they stopped trying to stop us. Jesus. Do you work at Auschwitz? Who barricades their own employees from exiting a door? Harrison Blank, owners of the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory, put up a poster that said complaining is like vomiting. You feel better but everyone around you feels sick. The morale was already bad, but it was just a shitty way to take a hit at upset employees rather than do anything positive. Complaining is like vomiting. Something caused it to happen, and it's best to figure out why and change it so it doesn't happen again. We were once in the middle of a very stressful period of work, and everyone was feeling it. However, one afternoon, an offhand comment turned into a conversation that we all got involved with and led to a few laughs. My manager, returning from a meeting, piped up, "Oh, we've finished tomorrow's work. Have we? What's all this about? Insert subject matter." Entire team instantly deflated. Unnecessary. Every employee needs time to blow off a little steam. Told a bunch of people they were going to be promoted to get us to do extra work. No one got promoted. I basically did her job for a month. Me and 3 of my co-workers quit, and she got fired a few months later. My job has been doing that to people including me. They pass people over for promotions then say, "But if you do all this extra stuff it'll look good for the next one." Meanwhile managers promote their friends basically. Held a super positive pep rally style company-wide meeting about how they were going to start combining our sick days with our vacation days and now just call them PTO. This was presented to us as a great thing, since we could all now use our PTO days fully as vacation days, if we wanted to. Once the system was implemented, everyone realized that instead of getting 10 vacation days and 10 sick days per year, we now all had 15 PTO days. Everyone was pissed. Welcome to the new norm. My wife's company does this, and it's fucking awful. Started firing people by lining 2 up at a time, and seeing which one they prefer to keep on. Didn't matter if you were there for 20 years or 2. Also hiring management from outside and not promoting within, which means the new managers have no knowledge of anything that company does in terms of ethics, procedures, or employee status. It has turned this clique type environment into every person for themselves. Very toxic. Dennis the day manager. Former teacher. The administrators at my school were usually pretty chill, but had a habit of randomly coming up with minor rules that they would enforce for us. Male teachers had to wear ties even on jeans day, etc. Overall it wasn't bad, except for the time an administrator made a crucial mistake. They banned staff from drinking coffee in front of students. Now if you've never worked in a school, you'd think this isn't a big deal. When you spend nearly 100% of your day in front of students, it definitely is a big deal. First we tried to find any loophole we could. Energy drinks, banned the next week. Tea, banned 2 days later. It was chaos. Eventually, we realized they couldn't fire an entire school's worth of teachers and aides. So we ended up doing the one thing that private schools fear most. We formed a union. Realistically, it was more of a weird pseudo-union focused specifically on civil disobedience regarding the coffee issue, but it ruffled feathers nonetheless. The administrators caved to our demands, allowed us to drink coffee again, and even bought each of us a reusable coffee mug as a gesture of goodwill. And that's the story of how a handful of school administrators almost accidentally created a teachers union over a complete non-issue. They banned staff from drinking coffee in front of students. What the hell was their logic on that? No clue. It's not like we were giving it to students. Hell, it wasn't even a distraction as far as I could tell. Pretty much the same as someone taking a sip of water in the middle of a lesson. The lack of logic behind the rule is likely what led to our impromptu mutiny. They banned phones, electronics, puzzles, books, etc. from being used at your desk. I work at a call center. We were expected to just sit and wait for the next call to come in distraction free, even if it was a super slow day. As someone who has worked at a few call centers, are they nuts? That work can be mind-numbing. You need something in your hands while you repeat the same instruction for the 400th time. Head of department realized that we weren't about to meet our targets for the financial year. Completely banned annual leave for 3 months. Forced anyone who didn't fill in their timesheet on time to attend disciplinary meeting, despite problems with the system, meaning that some didn't get filled in, and generally had lower management terrified, causing a massive blame culture and several people to be signed off with mental health issues. In the end, the employee survey which went to his bosses was hilariously bad, and he's now somewhere else making some other people's lives a misery. The best part was when his replacement came in and fired his right-hand man who was also a dick. All companies need employee surveys for this reason. Even if corporate doesn't read it, it's great fun to watch managers kiss ass for a week knowing their review is approaching. I once had a retail manager who sent out a memo that we worked so hard and did such a great job this month that she gets a bonus. That went over like a lead balloon. Comment repost. I went through the same kind of bullshit. At an airplane factory, manager started rationing gloves, hairnets, masks, and trash bags at the same time we had to go on a 12x6 work week. Like that was gonna make up for the increase in labor. I used to work in healthcare as a student, in different production plants where you needed gloves, because everything was hot or dirty, or because everything had to be very clean. When I started a new job in any of these fields, I swear you could get a good estimate of productivity and job satisfaction as soon as you saw how the glove situation was handled. If you cut costs by going cheap on that kind of protective gear, you don't care for your employees, and they know that. Had a boss everyone loved. Then she got transferred to another store and the new guy that replaced her decided the schedule that we'd all gotten used to needed to be shaken up. He posted the next week's schedule that was completely different than it had been under the previous manager. Got a bunch of complaints from people saying they can't work X days or Y times, and it seemed he was receptive since he took that schedule down. Then suddenly bam, he just reposted the same exact schedule and said fuck everyone. Oh, we had some people calling in sick from time to time under the old manager, but this new manager has pretty much half his crew every single day calling out because of his shitty tactics. Here's the first thing to learn about being a good manager. You don't need to shake things up for people to be better workers. You don't need to put your mark on anything. If it's working, just fine the way it was. So true. The idiotic pee in the corner and make this place mine is an enormous red flag. It's like the shitty boss calling card. They got rid of their night cleaning crew the week after I started, and we had to learn how to clean the whole department on our own before close. I work in a meat department, so this meant taking apart and cleaning 2 meat grinders and a bandsaw that were covered with meat goop. Almost the whole department quit because of this, but I stuck around and got the hang of it. After about 3 months though, they hired the cleaning crew back. Now closing is a breeze. Fuck man. I worked in a butcher shop in college, and cleaning those meat grinders is no joke. The grinder itself is a 2 feet long corkscrew that has to weigh 25 lbs. Oh, and it's razor sharp and covered in soapy water and beef tallow. Changed up the metrics that determined people's bonuses and included things that were important for the business to know, but completely beyond the control of the people whose bonuses were impacted. For example, we had a right party contact rate, how many times you actually got the person you were calling vs the number of calls you actually made. The problem was the phone number list came from elsewhere, and the people making the calls were just given a list of numbers, and you had to call them all. No leeway. So you're calling blind from a list you don't control, and get penalized if the list is shit. Oddly enough, the people in charge of making the phone number lists, their bonuses were not influenced by right party contact rate. Boss pitched a sales incentive trip to Cancun if the team hit the goal. My team exceeded the goal, and then they cancelled the trip. 2 people quit. I accepted a position with their main competitor, and less than a year later, they closed in bankruptcy. Kamasa Beach. A coworker of mine won Employee of the Year, and was given a free cruise. He won the prize by never saying no to the owner, which he continued and missed the cruise deadline. He still works there. I was one of a large number of programmers working on a project at CSC. We had a deadline coming up in a couple months and they overpromised to the client and then asked us all to work extra hard to meet the deadline and asked us to work 50+ hour weeks, which we did, and then some. Some of us put in 70 to 80 hour weeks to meet this deadline. But once that deadline was met, suddenly there was another deadline they needed to meet, and another. People got tired, had lives to lead, and scaled back on their hours. Most of us were still working 50 to 60 hours a week, but not a lot more than that. Once they realized we weren't killing ourselves on their project any longer, there was an all-hands meeting where the managers told us that they were incredibly disappointed in our lack of professionalism because so comparatively few employees were now working more than 50 hours a week. One of our harder workers stood up and said, "Look, I have 3 kids. I'm driving an hour into and out of work every day. I'm taking care of my family. I'm trying to get presents for Christmas, write out Christmas cards, decorate and clean the house for everyone we are having over for the holidays. I'm having a really hard time just getting to 50. And the manager looked at her and sneered. If it wasn't Christmas, it'd be because it's Easter, or Memorial Day, or because it's summer and it's nice out. You'd always have some excuse. There was dead silence in the room. When we left that meeting, we didn't talk to each other, but every single worker on that project put in exactly 50 hours a week after that. Then came Christmas, raise, and bonus time. Every worker on the project got a 0.5% raise. The managers got a 5-figure bonus. We were pissed. For management, the pain came after Christmas. First week off the year, 4 programmers had better jobs lined up and quit. 3 more the following week. 5 the next. We hemorrhaged 3 to 5 programmers every single week for over 3 months. It got to the point where the managers had to schedule a meeting every Monday at 11 to discuss that week's resignations and rearrange the surviving staff. Fuck the SC. It got to the point where the managers had to schedule a meeting every Monday at 11 to discuss that week's resignations and rearrange the surviving staff. Like you guys are at war and discussing how many naval vessels have been lost. This school wanted to switch to Chromebooks. So what did they do? One summer while teachers weren't working, they removed every single Windows station and replaced them with Chromebooks to be issued to teachers. They were told to figure it out. When teachers came up and asked how they could teach Photoshop, programming, AutoCAD 3D modeling, etc., admin basically googled their program name plus Chromebook extension and told them, see, there's an extension for it and it works. I don't think I have to add that it did not work. They ended up bringing back the desktops for most teachers. If an experienced teacher has saved curricula on those hard drives and someone throws them out unannounced, backed up or not, somebody's gonna die. You're throwing away a person's life work. I worked at a club in Miami and the owner was out of his fucking mind. Years of drug abuse. When the housing market crashed, obviously people were spending far less going out, but he insisted we were all stealing. We had meetings once a week with all kinds of threats. Finally he put in an automatic pouring system for 50k plus. It basically looks like you're pouring drinks from a soda gun. Super boring. The fun vibe and flair we had was totally gone, which made sales drop even more. He ripped the system out 2 weeks later. Had a big fight with his wife in front of everybody. I don't think you should run a restaurant with your family members unless you're really solid with each other. I had a family owner of a restaurant proceed to chew me out for something another employee did in front of an entire restaurant full of people. I handed her my money bag, tips included, and told her to fuck off as loud as possible and walked out. If you want to yell at your employees, which doesn't help anything, do it in private. I told the hiring manager that I was disappointed in one of his hires because he knew literally nothing about our job and asked him, doesn't that cheapen my knowledge and expertise? His response, well, let's be honest, your job doesn't really need all that, does it? There were 4 other people my level, with varying fields of expertise, at that meeting, and it got real quiet after that. What's your job?